Welcome back to Retro Modding News. While there won't be very many retro mods, there might be a couple of hot takes. And just in case you're wondering, while this video will go up on October 17th, I'm not going to be talking about whatever Analog is going to be announcing on October 16th. I'll talk about that next week. The first topic I want to talk about is this Metal Jesus Rocks Mr. video. In the video, he did kind of a basic overview of the different types of consoles and arcades and home computers that you could use the Mr. for. I really think that's an awesome way to spread the Mr. project. I mean, how many subscribers does Metal Jesus have? 848,000 subscribers, so this exposure is really awesome for Mr. Unlike a lot of the comments in the YouTube video and on Twitter, I think that this video was mostly positive. With that being said, he really kind of stayed more toward the arcade games and home computer side of things. He didn't really talk much about the console aspect of Mr. You really can't blame him because he's a collector of original consoles and that's how he likes to play his games, but I feel like the appeal of a Mr. is really in that core set of consoles that you can hardware emulate with a Mr. He also really didn't explain the reason why his Mr. add-ons Mr. cost $450. I think a lot of people are going to see the price tag of $450 and kind of get put off by it. But to me personally, I think that's a little bit of a nitpick. I really do feel like Metal Jesus Rocks reviewed this in his eyes. He really didn't intend to give a super in-depth review of the Mr., so you can't really blame him for that. Either way, you should check out this video and give it some support because this is the kind of positive attention that Mr. does need. Next, I want to share a thing that's been on my mind recently, and that's kind of retro setup and organization. I've been trying to think of ways to more efficiently set up my room so that I can quickly set up a console and do some recording if I need it for a video or play it if I wanted to. I think Bob from Retro RGB also went through this when he was at his tiny New York apartment. It really is a struggle when you don't have a lot of space to have all of your, even if you do have switches and extrons and things, it's really not possible sometimes to set everything up permanently. Anyways, I saw this awesome video that this guy had of this giant server rack filled with consoles and extrons and things. And I was just admiring the back of his server cabinet and just the sheer amount of cables and switchers he has. I mean, that is completely crazy and insane in a good way. I think this is really awesome. It's a lot of money in cables to spend, but you know, he's got a really efficient setup for what he needs to do, and I kind of like that. Along with that, I saw this tweet from Hardware Unboxed where he was showing off his new office setup, and I saw this picture of his desk, and I mean, who wouldn't kill for this kind of a setup? A 360-degree desk setup and some shelving. This would be a modder's paradise. You can have like projects set up on every side of this desk and not get back to them forever and just have them set up and ready to go for the next time that you are. I'd love to hear some of your ideas for a retro gaming workstation and sort of setup. So let me know in the comments if you find some cool inspiration like this. Okay, before we get into the more spicy topics, let's talk about G4 coming back. I used to watch G4 when my parents had digital cable. Actually, there was two channels, right? G4 and Tech TV. I used to watch both of those. I didn't really watch G4 that much until G4 and Tech TV combined. I really liked Tech TV a lot. That was a really awesome channel. There was a show Screensavers. I think it was about doing like IT kind of help desky kind of questions with people called in with their problems and they answered it. I thought that was cool. It sounds like G4 is coming back through a Twitch channel, so that's gonna be really cool. And it starts on November 16th, so I'm kind of excited to see what their programming is gonna be like, to see if it's interesting to us retro gamers. All right, let's get into some trending topics this week. The first one is this Metroid Dread article from Kotaku. You guys have already probably seen this article, but if you haven't, they've talked about how Metroid Dread was already being emulated on a computer. Now, originally this article was kind of worded in favor of piracy and saying instead of buying Metroid Dread, that you can just pirate it and play it through an emulator on your computer. But it's interesting now that they have this update here to clarify that that's not really what they meant. Now, I played a bit of Metroid Dread and I think it's a really awesome game. People that have been into the Metroid franchise have been waiting for this game and they would really want to see some sequels. So obviously I don't support piracy and I think you should support the game if you like it. I do think we're living in sort of a weird time right now. I think a lot of people, if you have any EverDrives, you are probably comfortable with having ROM packs on here, which is piracy unless you own every single game on the ROM pack. And I do understand that the reason people are comfortable with using ROMs in this sort of aspect is Nintendo or other companies don't really sell the entire library of ROMs for all their games. I guess there's just a certain amount of time we have to wait for us to feel more comfortable with the aspect of piracy. I don't know. It's definitely a gray area and I'm not really sure how I should feel about being comfortable using ROMs here, but not being okay with talking about piracy when it comes to newer games. Long story short, I think the efforts that people are going through to improve these Switch emulators is a good thing. Some year down the road, all the Nintendo Switch servers are going to be offline. I don't imagine a world where Nintendo is just going to keep offering Switch forever. Most of their previous consoles have been taken offline. So any efforts moving preservation forward, I think is a good thing. All right, let's talk about the Forever Pack 64. These are some really awesome looking MRAM based N64 memory packs made by 4-Layer Technologies. Now these are memory cards for the N64 that don't need any batteries. So basically, as long as the physical memory card doesn't get damaged, theoretically your saves will last indefinitely. While I do think it's cool that we have a high quality alternative to those really cheap memory packs that you can get for the N64, I have a couple of gripes with it. The first one is it's no bigger than a normal size memory pack for the N64. I think that's a technical limitation of the N64. There might not be a great way to work around that. And the other issue that I have is there doesn't seem to be a way to take the saves off of this memory pack, which are both features that the MemCard Pro, which is a PS1 memory card, have. So while I do think it's cool that we have a high quality alternative to those really cheap memory cards, I do think something like a MemCard Pro for the N64 is probably going to be coming in the future, and that's probably going to be more beneficial to something like the Forever Pack 64. And last but not least, Nintendo announced more details about the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack. They announced this a little while ago, basically saying that they were going to bring some Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games to Nintendo Switch Online, but they didn't announce how much it was going to cost. They announced that it's going to be $49.99 for the entire year instead of the NSO's $19.99. Now, this announcement broke Twitter today. People have been going off about it's too expensive, more things should be included with it. This person called them beep boop pixel trash. I'm not gonna go through all the drama that this caused today. I'll just give you my thoughts. If you're the type of person who's gonna say, oh, I can just emulate it or play on my real console, then I don't think this was meant for you. I think that this new expansion pack is meant for super casual people who just wanna have a couple of new games on their Switch. Maybe they're a parent that wanna show their younger kids some of the games that they used to enjoy, but they don't wanna be bothered with setting up a Raspberry Pi or hooking up a retro console. I was editing this video and thought about a couple of more things about this expansion pack. Thankfully, this is optional. It's not like they made the base Nintendo Switch Online cost $50 a year. The base version is still $20 a year, so that's all you need to play Switch games online. And thankfully, if you're a technical person, there's a bunch of other options. There's Raspberry Pi, there's the mini consoles, there's stuff like Mister. So this is just another option to play those games coming straight from Nintendo. And finally, I think this would be the perfect platform to introduce even more consoles like Game Boy Advance. It seems like this expansion pack idea could expand to other consoles in the future. However, Nintendo didn't mention any of that. They could have said, oh, we're having N64 and Genesis now. Coming soon, we'll have other consoles. They didn't really say any of that. So I'm not really sure if that's their game plan, but I think that that would be a good strategy for them. Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave this video. Follow me on Twitter or join the Discord if you want to share some news stories with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.